Good afternoon and welcome to the April 14, 2023 meeting of the Rotary Club of Beavercreek, or in our household, we like to call it Pancake Day Eve. So we like to thank our greeters who stepped up, Chris Hadley and Randy Grosjean, Eric Marcus and Beth Handworker for taking care of ticket sales, Pete Bales, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Swick for the great programs, and Jim Gundel for taking care of our website. I'd like to invite Debbie Darby up for an invocation.
Well, good afternoon. Would you please join me in prayer? Lord of the universe, tonight, from two democratic nations who proved that borders can be shared for centuries in peace, and where men and women gathered in spirit and support of Rotary International in our own clubs in our district 6670. We enjoy our fellowship. Help us remember how fortunate we are able to serve our brothers and sisters around the world through our great organization and this astonishing foundation. That we prosper, enable us to give our material wealth, that we are free, enable us to work together on these projects, that we are generous, enable us to together to achieve the amazing successes, and that we are delighted brings us together in our club's leaders and workers so that we may continue with these efforts. Amen.
Thanks, Debbie. We have a secretary's report from Joe Jenkins.
Oh, okay. All right. We are at 53% today, and Mark Weinstein is a guest.
My guess is Stephanie Cronin.
Stephanie.
And she's a picture Rotarian, so I need an application.
You will ignore that you're with Mark for the purposes of reviewing the application. All right. So we are supposed to have a guest to speak to us today about Rams for the Cure, but I did not see that yet.
Rams for the Cure.
That's what I was told. So we were. Our Sergeant at Arms, are you prepared for a Sergeant at Arms, or were you told to stand down?
I was fired, so.
Okay. All right, we may have a short meeting. So okay, let's go happy bucks. Just got happy bucks. I know it's early in the meeting to be happy, but what do we got?
I have a happy breakfast for everybody who has stepped up to help out for the pancake breakfast tomorrow. I think we're in a good position. Everything is in place. So I just want to thank everybody who's going to help out and who's sponsored and bought tickets retail. So thank you.
I'm happy. On Easter Sunday in the afternoon, after we're all sitting there content, I'll say, having dinner. My granddaughter was checking her emails and she started screaming and jumping up and down. And I said, really? And she just got word that she's been accepted to the University of New Hampshire for an overseas course in Bologna, Italy for 8 weeks.
Awesome.
She'll be studying Italian. So we're happy.
It's great. Mark.
I had one for our great speaker today, very handsome.
You want to do the intro?
Chris.
I got two. One Monday, anniversary of my wife.
All right.
And we split it by monitoring our baby allergic reaction, so monitoring rashes and feet and all that fun stuff. Allergies. And then the second one, my 16-year-old son just got his first car, and he's over the moon. He can now drive and doesn't have to rely on rides.
Nice.
Insurance company, like,
Yeah, I'm kind of happy since we're not going to be and we're going to be on a short station celebrating our 56th wedding.
Just getting to know each other. That's good.
Yes, warm up.
With our happy bucks. So I provided a couple for the people who have been doing the pre-work for the pancake breakfast, including my wife and all that she's done to organize it. And Mark Weinstein and Teresa Tracy as setting up our promotional aspects that we're real excited about tomorrow. Any other inputs? Okay. I'm free today. I'm gonna give our ticket number for a raffle. Half of the proceeds go to our Christmas basket. It's 324930.
So you move a little left.
That's me again. Shannon.
I am.
He peppers in a couple of these losses early in the pot, so it doesn't look as suspicious when he wins at the end.
There's three. Let's bring it very well. No.
All right.
Pat Gross.
5 grows. Okay. So do we have any announcements? Sure.
I'll make a short one. I sent out an email to register for Founder's Day on May the 12th. If you're having any difficulties registering, contact me, or during the meeting here, just walk up and I can take care of it right away for you. You don't have to worry about it. The email that was sent out from the club that has the menu and stuff on it and the agenda, all you gotta do is click register now, and it'll take you right to that to register. You click 3 buttons and it sends 2 emails to you and 2 emails to Don Adams. We don't know why, but it does it anyway.
Okay. The big event, our 50th. All right. Anyone else? Other announcements? If you have not checked to make sure what shift you're working at Pancake Breakfast, please do so. And if you have any questions, give us a yell. Also, on a side note, I don't want to like any yell outs of this, but if you happen to know anything about the condition of Ed Phillips, share it with us so we can at least kind of address that.
I talked with Diane, Ed's wife, and Ed was able to, she talked him into going to a restaurant where the bunny is. And so she drove him to the restaurant. He walked in, had the meal, walked back out into the car and said that was the best day he's had in months. So he's recovering someday. He's gonna be sitting right there.
All right.
You know, so
Thanks.
very good.
Didn't hear. All right. I'm going to invite Mike Swick up to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure to introduce our friend Larry Hanskin. Larry's been here a few times, I think. Larry has been the host of the Miami Valley's Morning News since 2003. He joined the staff of WHIO Radio in 1981 as a overnight board operator. Was that BORED? Mostly. And quickly rose through the ranks. He became the sports director that year, and in 1982 became the play-by-play voice of the University of Dayton basketball. In 1988, he added Flyer football. Part of the Cox Media Group, he's also a regular contributor to the Dayton Daily News and WHIO TV. In addition to his media work, Larry is a certified personal trainer with a specialization in, and if you can guess this, I'll give you $100. Russian kettlebells. Okay. He speaks German, which he'll demonstrate, and also performs as a stand-up comedian at comedy clubs in Southwest Ohio and Indiana. Larry lives in Washington Township with his wife Laura, son Alex, and daughter Andrea. His oldest daughter Lauren is the director of an art gallery in Cleveland. With that, please welcome Larry.
Thanks, Mike. It's good to be out today. I get a break. My wife, the aforementioned Laura, had back surgery on Tuesday. So I get out of the house. She's doing okay, though. She's doing okay, and appreciate being here again. See a lot of friends, familiar faces. I really And I know you guys have your big pancake breakfast tomorrow, and I applaud all groups like yourselves, and certainly this Beavercreek Rotary for doing what you do. Wore a shirt today. Says the Huseman Heart Open. And this was a dear friend of mine, Tony Huseman, who was the longest living heart transplant recipient. Lived for over, lived until he was 51, lived for 30 years plus with a heart transplant. Ironically, died of skin cancer. But Tony was a dear friend, and Tony probably did as much as anyone to instill in me the need for community service. To not just do what you do, but to do it to make the world better for those around you. And so that's why when I get an opportunity to speak to a group like yourselves, first of all, I want to applaud you for what you're doing, and then encourage you to keep doing it. And because it's something that's very important to me as well. And I try to do that in my own life. We live in very challenging times. In the media world and in the world of college athletics. I said college athletics. And immediately that got a reaction. Yeah, there are 1,100 players right now.
Gee, what horrible.
College basketball transfer portal.
Oh, my gosh.
1,100. There were 327 Division I basketball teams. So it's, it's at least 2 to 3 per team across the board. And I think it's, I think it's largely generational. Okay, granted, it has to do to a certain degree with the rules in which we are now operating. But I wouldn't even go so much to say that it really has to do with the world in which we live, as the world in which you do business and you're operating. And Mark, you're on a college campus, and so you realize you're operating a different world in which the one in which you live, you grew up in, for example. We had some training recently where I work at Cox Media Group, and it was very valuable to me. It's really resonated with me, and they said, "All right, Larry, you got to go to diversity training." How many of you have ever been told you have to go to diversity training and responded with glee? I'm guessing no one. Okay. Well, I was of a similar attitude. And here's the thing is that they said, okay, it's going to be diversity training. Diversity training. Okay. And at the time I was 6 years old. I mean, I was about as diverse as I was ever going to get. Okay. So diversity training, what's it going to be all about? Well, it was about this much about race. And then it was about that much about gender. Oh, okay, you got my attention now. Because you're not telling me something that I've been told over and over again through the years. And the rest of the day was spent talking about generations. And it was fascinating. Looking at generations, the World War II generation. And we got some, I'm looking now, I got maybe a couple of people that might be on the fringe of that. Okay, the World War II generation. Well, first of all, all generations believe in hard work. And some of you are saying, no, they don't. No, don't. No. They do. All generations believe in hard work. Greatest generation, that World War II generation, you work hard. That wasn't even the decision. You didn't decide to work hard. That was just how it was. You got baby boomers like myself. We work hard. It's the right thing to do. I mean, it's the right thing to do. I mean, if you don't work hard, then you're a slacker. You know, you're a layabout. Then you go to the next generation. I think they're called Gen Zs, but they're like right below us is baby boomers. Gen X, okay, Gen X. And they believe that if you want something, if you want to achieve something, if you want to make something out of your life, work hard and get it. Not too big a disconnect with the rest of us. Then you get Gen Y. And that's where the disconnect happens. Gen Y believes in hard work. I work hard so that before I preserve something. So you can see what the disconnect takes place. And to bring this up, hopefully it'll have some value in your lives, but we're seeing it in college athletics. Because, you know, the days of you go someplace, you enter as a freshman, you work hard, you bide your time, you work up the ladder, and eventually you start, and eventually you achieve something. Those days are over. There, like I said, there are 1,100 players in the transfer portal right now. And the amazing thing is before everyone got the free, because right now everybody can go, they can transfer one time for free. One time for free. And that's why we've got this plethora of people transferring. But before that, most guys that were transferring, even when they had to sit out a year, even with the old rules, where I'm going to transfer and then I've got to sit out a year before I can play again. When do you think most of those players decided to transfer? Majority, far and away the majority. Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think it was?
Wow. Well, they weren't getting playing time.
I'm going to give you credit for that. December of their freshman year. So in other words, you had players come in as a freshman. They're 6 weeks into their college career. They go, not for me. I'm out of here. Well, with that being the mindset, you can see why those numbers have swelled to 1,100 now, where they don't even have to sit out. And of course, a lot of those have to do with coaching changes and things like that. It's a very bizarre scenario that we're living in. And then also you throw in the COVID year where there are still people that are, you know, coming back for yet another year, a 6th year college sports, football or basketball. So I think within 2 years, we might see a little bit of a settling, if you will. Because it has been bizarre. It has been bizarre. It's like something I've never seen in 40 years. This is my 40th year of broadcasting Dayton basketball. And it was maybe the most unique year I've ever experienced. I can remember not that long ago, but it was last year. The Miami Hurricanes team that made the Final Four. Dayton played them a year ago in the 21-22 season down in Atlanta. Here they beat, they beat Kansas, they won the tournament. First game they won, they beat Miami. And the opening tip of that game, Deron Holmes for Dayton was the center at 18 years old. And then the Miami center was 26. That's a big difference, folks. I mean, that's a big difference in terms of, maturation and athletics. So, these are challenging times. They're weird times, but I still think that what it gets back to is what we talked about. Am I moving around too much?
No, I'm just gonna get you.
Oh, okay. What I talked about earlier is that, what are you guys about? You're about service, you're about your community, you're about the values that mean something to you. And I still think that's going to be what prevails moving forward in all organizations, not just the Beavercreek Rotary, but in college athletics. And there are even say professional sports, although that's obviously more of a result-based industry that really doesn't care that much about community impact as we have at other levels. And so I will tell you this moving forward. I still feel optimistic. I feel optimistic about what lies ahead. I look at things that have happened at Bright State, for example, where they lose a guy. Tanner Holton decides to transfer to Ohio State after having an amazing career at Wright State. And he goes to Ohio State and he basically never leaves the bench. But at the same time, Brad Vasily went down Virginia Tech and had an amazing career. So, there's not like, you can't make an argument, well, don't do this, don't do that. You can't really do that. And at the University of Dayton, they've got some guys leave. Some of them surprised me, some of them didn't. Richard Amopole, you wouldn't even recognize the name, nor should you, because he never played. He's gone. I was a little surprised to see Mustafa Amsil leave, because he was a guy that I think the coaches thought very well of. He was getting a chance to play a lot, but for some reason he decided to go. RJ Blakeney basically quit on his teammates about 4 weeks ago of the season, so I was not surprised about that. I was not surprised about Mongolian Mike Sharjum's leaving. Because my suspicions have been confirmed. He wasn't going to class. He wasn't going to be eligible to play anywhere at the University of Dayton or any place else. His only opportunity to play basketball was professionally, because he was not being a college student. I was disappointed to see Tamani Kamara probe the NBA route, only for selfish reasons, because I thought he's got a chance to be a pro player. He's doing that so far in the Portsmouth Invitational. He had a great opening game, 27 points, 8 rebounds, and this is a guy who, I'm not trying to slam Mongolian Mike, but the fact is that when both Tumani put his name in the draft, and when Mustafa Amsil decided to put his name in the portal, professors at the University of Dayton were stepping up to wish them well, saying, "Wow, what great students! We think you guys are going to do great. Best of luck to you moving forward." So obviously they were doing the right type of thing. So to conclude my prepared remarks, I would just say this, is that anytime you find yourself sitting in a situation where you go like, I've never seen anything like this before. You know what? You're probably wrong. You're probably wrong. Life just keeps coming around. It keeps coming around and we do things over and over again. And that's why organizations like this one, the real heart and soul of a community are so important. And that's why I applaud you for doing what you're going to do. Your pancake breakfast tomorrow. That's going to be a great event. But more so than the fact that you gather here on a regular basis and you say, you know what? I want to make a difference. I want to do something. I don't want to just sit and let the world go by and not have any say so in how it transpires. Any questions? We'd love to answer. Yes.
What happens to the people that enter the transfer portal and nobody wants them?
It's a very good question because there's 1,100 players in the transfer portal. There may not be 1,100 landing spots. It's like a giant game of musical chairs. And that music's going to stop. I think, like for some, they're just going to have nothing. They're going to have nothing, literally nothing. I don't know this to be a fact, but I'm just based upon my own experience. For example, at Dayton, Mustafa Amsil, if he's one guy that he said, you know what, guys, maybe I shouldn't be. I think they'd take it back. I think they would. But for the most part,
They don't have to take it back.
yeah. You ever have a girl break it up with you?
Yeah, never.
A less handsome man in this room. Hypothetically, if you ever had a girl break up with you and say, you know what, I really don't think I can do better than you. I think I can do better than you. 3 weeks later, she comes back and she says, never mind. What do you say?
Sorry.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yes, sir.
Will this impact boosters' support of a university?
The question was, you didn't hear it, will it impact booster support? Ironically, well, not ironically, but coincidentally, would be a better word. Booster support is ramping up, at least the request for booster support is ramping up. Case in point, UMass is in the Atlantic 10 of the University of Dayton. They got a guy named RJ Lewis, freshman, good player, all rookie team in Atlantic 10. He got signed to a $100,000 NIL agreement. And it's still left. Oh, okay. There was something bigger out there. And the biggest example of what Booster's role is going to be moving forward is that Miami Hurricanes team that was in the Final Four, where Nigel Pack left Kansas State saying, I want, and he got a $500,000 NIL deal from Miami to transfer from Kansas State to Miami. But the trickle-down effect is that Isaiah Wong, who is on the Miami roster, says, wait a second. He's making more than me. I want more to stay. And it's happened. I mentioned earlier that I've I'm talking about Dayton's roster moving forward. And I just kind of breezed through it, that I thought, yeah, I really think that Deron Holmes will be back next year. And I probably didn't flesh out that statement as much as I should. Because the full statement is something I never thought I would say in my life. Yes, I think Deron Holmes will be back next year. Because he can make more money staying in college. Because as a, not sure if he's going to be a late first round or a second round draft pick. If he's a second round draft pick, well, in that case, the money is not guaranteed. Roster spot's not guaranteed. He can make more money staying in college. Never thought I would ever say something like that. But that's the reality in which we live.
Gee,
Yeah, Mark.
so I think, transfer portal and NIL will be the death of college athletics as we know it. But you just made a good point that shows why NIL can help. Is there a greater advantage for NIL because it could keep some students in college longer?
Yeah, and Mark said he thinks that, you can hear him, that NIL and the transfer portal is going to be the death of college athletics. And I can't argue that it wouldn't be, but I'm a little bit more optimistic. And then, I think what it can be is an opportunity. And it's really going to depend upon institutions and how they deal with it. I'm a little biased, but I'm also close to it, so I know what they're doing at the University of Dayton, how they're managing it, and that they've got a collective going where everybody gets something. If you are, even if you're a walk-on, if you're a non-scholarship player, if you're a walk-on, if you're by your second year, if you stay there a year, okay, you've invested, they'll give you something. Well, I mean, it's $300-$400. I mean, it is not a lot of money. You're not getting rich, okay, but it's a little bit more. And I think they're using it, I know, as an opportunity to teach guys about taxes.
Right.
No, seriously, about, okay, you're getting money, all right.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay taxes on that. So you need to set aside, they're using it as a teaching opportunity. Some schools are going to approach it as, all right, here's a teaching opportunity in a student athlete academic situation to prepare these young men and women for life after college. Really what it's done is it's taken everything that was under the table and put it above the table. And the big cheaters now don't have an advantage over the mid-level cheaters. because they're not cheating anymore. So, but yeah, I mean, the $100 handshakes at Alabama. I mean, so it's amazing. Because I ask questions. What if the rules as far as NIL are wow. Mark, if you've got a Cedarville athlete, okay? All right, I can say, would you stand here next to me and take a picture for $500,000? It's legal. That's legal. Would you sign an autograph for my daughter for $1 million? It's legal. The only thing that's not legal is I can't say, you know what? You make a free throw at the end of the game, I'll give you $100,000. You just can't be performance based, but essentially, if it's just Maybe the old $100 handshake, hey, nice game. That stuff is now legal, yeah.
So aside from the money, although that can play a part in it, but over the years, you get to watch practices, you've watched thousands of practices and coach and player interaction and that kind of thing, and the focus on development. How have you seen that change over the time that you've done your students?
The biggest thing I've seen change, and the question was, how has, just the day-to-day, I guess, the day-to-day, would that be fair to say, practice and development of players changed? The biggest thing I've changed is become more singularly focused on the players. That maybe one, not in practice per se itself, but so much in the recruiting process. And then the maintenance of a player moving forward is, what can I do about it? What can I do for you? It's less about what are you going to do for our program? What are you going to do for our team? It's more about what can I do for you? The practices, they've not changed that much, but I think the overall message to players has. Yes, sir.
This year's NCAA being so random, it didn't have anything to do with those portal.
Absolutely it did. Absolutely did. I mean, if you looked at the makeup of the rosters of the teams, most of them, came, they were, and you know what, and the thing was, is that's always been the case in the NCAA tournament. Remember, I could have stood up here 5 years ago, okay? Maybe I was here 5 years ago. I was here 5 years ago. All right, so I should pull my notes out. Why can I keep them? I should pull my notes out and say, oh, one and done. One and done is the biggest problem we are facing in college athletics. No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, 5 years ago, it was all about guys were coming in, playing 1 year at Kentucky, they go in the NBA. Playing 1 year at Duke, go in the NBA. And the thing was, is that they weren't winning NCAA tournaments because the teams that were winning NCAA tournament games had veterans, had seniors. They had, like I talked about that game in Orlando, they had a 26-year-old center playing. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's very little in life where experience doesn't pay off. And we saw that, I think, really magnified more so in this NCAA tournament than in any other year past. You saw old guys winning games.
Do you think the COVID year eligibility had more effect on that though than the transfer portal and
I mean,
together? Because you're seeing,
It's a combination.
you're seeing fifth and sixth year seniors that are still playing, where that they didn't have that COVID year. They're either playing in the rec league or maybe in the NBA. Most of them aren't playing basketball. Right.
Because you got a guy, like, let's say a guy entered, let's say he was a freshman in like 2018, and then he graduates. Okay, he graduates. He gets free transfer graduate.
Right.
It's COVID year. That's a free year. Now you get your free transfer year. You got guys that are 7 years out of high school. So obviously that's going to stop because everyone's going to lose that COVID year. And I don't know when we're going to see things level out.
We'll have a new rule then.
Yeah, probably. But I'm hoping things kind of level out a year or two, but you're right, me. As you know, I'm looking at guys who are as old as me playing. Well, not thankfully. Okay. Don't appreciate that much laughter. Yes, sir.
How old will Cheryl be
HIO, your opinion.
The question was Cheryl Henry, how much longer will she stay? I don't know. I don't want to speak for her. I know that she has been asked to stay beyond maybe when she would want to stay.
All right.
And I'll just bring up a little media thing since Chuck brought that up about Sean McHenry at the center stuff. We are dealing with a problem in our business. We got a little bit of a brain drain going on. Really?
Yeah.
And I look around the room, I know you guys are involved in a lot of different businesses, and I don't think it's specific to media. It's just like, and maybe it goes back to what I talked about earlier about the generational stuff. But I would encourage you all, when you got people working for you, or you got sons and daughters, for them to find some value in what they do beyond a paycheck, okay? Because I say tisk to my own employer for not doing that. Why are we not ennobling what we do to a point where someone feels good about it beyond just getting a paycheck? I mean, sir, are you in it for the money? No.
It is. I was a boss.
And God, I hope not. God, I hope not. Are there any school teachers in the room?
All at school.
Good. But, you know, well, and it goes along to that, to our officer here, is that, you know, I don't think I ever wanted to hear a school teacher say, you know, I really hate teaching school, but the money's so good, I just can't say no. Because what do we always do? We say, we're not paying teachers enough, not paying teachers enough. Okay, maybe we aren't paying teachers enough. Maybe we aren't paying police officers enough. But sir, I don't want to buy your loyalty. I don't want to buy your integrity. You know, I want you to be fairly compensated, but I want you to be doing what you do for a reason that transcends that paycheck.
And call it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Can we say thank you? And so, you know, the same can be said for something as trivial as what Cheryl and I do. There has to be something to it more than just, I showed up and as Lou would say to me sometimes, say the words, take the money and go home. I don't want to be. Yes, sir.
I think you already answered the question, but my original one was, what do you think is causing the brain drain in your industry?
The reason for the brain drain is I really don't think that we're doing a good job in our business, or maybe in any business, of giving people a reason to feel fulfilled in what they do. Because really, when it comes all down to it, what we all want to do is make a difference. You want to make a difference in your life. Years ago, I taught at a broadcast school here in Dayton. And I would tell folks, I go, what do you want to do this? And they go, well, we'll be on here. Okay, all right. Put you down in your basement. Put you down in your basement, I'll set you up. I'll set you up a little turntable and records and everything you need. I do nothing. Well, no. Well, it's not good enough. You're on the air. Well, I want people to hear me. Yeah. You want to make a difference. You want to make a difference. Doesn't matter if you're a newscaster like Cheryl McHenry, or a police officer, if you're selling cars, or if you're a minister standing up in the pulpit, you want to make a difference. You want what you do to make a difference in someone's life. That's what we want as a basic human need. It's not the paycheck. I mean, the paycheck will make you leave to go find someplace else to find that. Well, what you're really wanting to do is to be able to make a difference. And I am just, God, I am so blessed. I have had this incredible life, this incredible career, where I feel like what I do. I'm not curing cancer, and I'm not making the streets safe, okay? But you know what? I think people care. I want to wake up in the morning and do what I do, and if I go to the arena, I broadcast the game or whatever, I think it matters. I think it matters. Maybe it brought someone just a little bit of joy, a little bit of something like that. And then that has been the most rewarding thing. And being able to speak to the Beavercreek Rotary. I'll close on that.
And if you'll watch this rotation of pictures here, you'll see that Larry appears to be running for office. That speech may have been associated with that run. Thank you so much, Larry. We appreciate it. And on your behalf, we're dedicating a book to Beavercreek Community Library. Okay, so readers next week, Jim Rudd and Beth Kelly. Our speaker next week is Chris Mackey of the Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is a great organization. Keep an eye on our website for upcoming programs, beavercreekrotary.com. Thanks, Jim. Also on Facebook. Is there anything else for the good of the club today?
Watch the sports to see Brandon finishing the Boston Marathon.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We'll be and take breakfast.
No, it's on Sunday.
Stephen Brown, what are you doing? You realize the police chief is here, right? I was gone.
Curious, who's all wanted to pancake breakfast? Love that. How many of you have your Rotary t-shirts to wear? How many don't?
There's your shirt over here.
Rather short,
We're all wear the gray shirts, but we also have freshly laundered aprons that are Beavercreek from courtesy of the Cusacks. We did laundry festival. We didn't do it 3 years ago.
Pre-COVID pancakes on it. There's some one shirt. All right, anybody else have an announcement or anything else for the good of the club? All right, if you'll rise, please. Larry, if you would, once everybody's up, if you'll lead us in the pledge, I appreciate it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good.
Guys, have a great week. Everybody see some of you.
Steve, model.
Yeah.